which I picked up at work. And then I got this thing, which I picked up at work a few weeks later. Now I've got to return to work and try and convince them that I'm not taking the mick. I really was ill. And please don't give me a disciplinary, which I'll probably end up doing. But, you know.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I hope not. Oh, gosh. Yeah, you don't sound like you should be going back to work anytime soon.
Well,
he's the folded up avatar up there.
I'm definitely not going back tomorrow. That's too soon. And then I've got Tuesday off.
Okay.
Anyway, so hopefully by Wednesday I'll be ready.
Oh, here he is.
To go back to the office.
Ooh.
We have a red day tomorrow, so yeah.
Hold on, wait.
Sleeping in.
Yeah.
I'm going back tomorrow for the first
What's
time
up, Grenade
since
Head?
late November. I'm
What's
not
that?
looking forward to
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big.
I hear it,
recovery
Kate.
From my surgery.
No!
Hello, Faye! Faye!
What in the world? You stole his avatar.
What can I say?
You're looking smashing.
The beard suits you, Kate.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. No, okay. Okay, alright. Yep. What's the crack?
Nothing much. How about you?
Go on. I think they all want the AMA. No, wait, what is this?
You should
The
conduct
Spacemakers! The Spacemakers. So, who's making a space today?
Weren't you?
But Ireland, are you in Spain now?
I'll be right back.
Anyway, yeah. So what's the crack? How are you? How's life?
Oh, now Shane's other avatar's gone.
Don't be looking at me now just because I look like him. That means nothing. For real though. I don't know what's going on, man. Your guess is as good as mine. Oh, there he is.
Oh, look at that. 14 new play.
There he is.
That's the right age. Nice avatar. Welcome, folks. What's happening? How's everybody doing? Happy New Year. Right?
Yeah. I got a question.
Oh, hit me. That's what this is all about.
You're on megaphone, Kate.
So after I turn on this thing, and I turn it off, I can't walk anymore.
Gotcha. I know a workaround for that. We have a fix coming very soon, but I can tell you how to fix it quickly. All you gotta do is open your menu, go to the spaces screen, and then change your cursor. So click with the other trigger. Once you do that, close your menu again. It'll fix it again.
Oh.
We'll have a fix out for that very soon. Thankfully, we know what the cause of the problem is, which is 90% of the work most of the time.
Okay,
so, how's everybody doing? Yeah, no problem. What's happening? Anybody, any crazy New Year's stories? Feel free to make your way up onto the podium if you'd like to tell the group about any crazy New Year's stories. Come on, folks, don't be shy. Let's go. Let's hear all about them. Or ask me a question, right? Because that's kind of how this also works. But, you know, I'll open it up. If you don't have a question, you can tell a story. Look at the other version of me. See how it's floating there? Its legs are like off the ground. No, it's cool. It knows what it's doing. Has anybody figured out who it is yet?
Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. That's right. She's commandeered my account. The whole of Ireland now has access to my account, folks. So if anybody here is from Ireland, you can connect with me afterwards. I'll give you my password. Yep. This is a new, it's a new cultural exchange program that we have going on. Yep. That's right. That's it. United Ireland. Let's go. All of us, one account. Hit me, Lisa. What have you got for me?
It's not really anything to do with space making, but I don't know if we've just discovered a bug. But Catnap and myself can't become friends. The add friend button does nothing whatsoever.
Gotcha.
And I don't
So it's
know.
Catnap, you say?
It's the first time I've come across it. Yes.
Okay, so I've just sent Catnap a friend request myself. Let's see if we can track this down. Maybe you can click on me, click on my name tag, and maybe click add friend and see if that makes us friends. 14 new play. I just got your invite and I accepted by clicking on add friend. Maybe that's worth noting. Maybe you try that, Lisa, if that works. I know that that's not perfect. Actually, it should probably say accept request, right, rather than add friend. But I don't know if you want to try.
Yeah. Well, we've both been trying hitting the add friend button.
For
me. And it clicks, but nothing seems to happen. I've not had any friend requests from her. I've got one just now from Grenade Head, which is interesting.
Congratulations, Grenade Head.
So I know that that's working.
So tell me this, Catnap. Have you been on the platform before?
I have. Yes.
Was it a long time ago?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. What you may need to do is just sign out and sign back in. I think you may be on an account from when our friends list basically didn't exist. And believe it or not, there's additional permissions that need to be acknowledged at the point of sign in. So I think what might be required is that you sign in, sign back, or sign out and sign back in. We have had this problem a few times, right? So maybe that's what it is. But if it's not that, ping us on Discord or check out the Banter support desk, and we can figure that out for you. We can get that resolved. But that's what I'm thinking is possibly the only thing. I noticed that. Actually, you've been able to accept my friend request.
Yes. Yep.
That's interesting. So have you got other people on your friends list other than Lisa?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't have me, I don't think, do you? In the friends list?
Sorry.
It's just you, Lisa.
It's just me, yeah. Apparently nobody likes me. Well, the thing is, it is working for other people. Yeah, it's just us for some reason aren't allowed to be friends.
Cool. Yes. Okay. Well, I guess we'll all just have to accept that then and move on, right? What happened to my podium? No, that's fine. Faye, maybe you can ping me about that. We can. Now that I've got you on my friends list, I can track down both of your user accounts and see what the hell is going on there.
Not a problem. I'll send you a message.
In the meantime, I don't know if it's worth trying experimenting with the block on block possibly, because basically the relationship records that are involved in that process are basically the same, whether you're a friend or whether you've blocked somebody, right? Obviously with slightly different statuses, but... Oh, I'm on my own podium. Sorry about that. I can't get up there again now. Hang on. Hold on, folks. Give us a second here. I'm just going to take a little hot second. Let's go. Whoops. Fell off again. Oh, no.
He has a couple days off.
Okay,
and
back up.
how to do it.
No, I thought it was. Oh, hold on a second. There we go. Now we're back. We're back in the game. Everyone good? Everyone okay? Hang on. I'm just gonna cock my head back a little bit and put my hand around like that. You don't need to worry about it. Everything's safe. Happy New Year, am I right? You all right there, Iron Wolf? How are you getting on in Malaga? Do you want to take the podium and tell us all about it?
Yeah, so I posted some links, pictures of the drinks. I had some of those, of course. And
all of them.
All of them and more, of course. And we wasn't in Malaga. We were in Torremolino, I think it's called.
Gotcha.
And okay, so this is a place my wife booked, which was really nice. But when we were there a couple of days, we noticed there was a lot of how do you say it? Gay people there.
Oh.
And it's okay. I don't care about that. And anyway, so. But after a while, I needed to look this up. So I looked it up in Spain, in gay places, and Torremolino was the most gayest place in Spain. So if you're into that kind of stuff, go there.
Nice. A little gaycation. Nice. Can't go wrong. Am I right? Oh, no. Kate, you've got to unmute. I can hear you laughing in there. You've got to unmute so everyone else can enjoy it too. Oh, she's gone nuts in there. Oh, I can hear her laughing.
Did you say gaycation?
No. I said a gaycation. Yes, that's right. I mean, come on. You gotta say that you're in the gayest place in Spain on vacation and expect me not to say gaycation? Okay, well, if this isn't space making related, then I don't know what is. Okay, well, look, a lot of new folks joining the room. I'll just remind everybody who's jumping in that if you want to take a step up onto the podium and ask me a question, I'll be more than happy to answer it. I should have mentioned actually at the start of the event, I'm only here for another 20 minutes. So super reasons to get in there and ask any questions that you got. If nobody has any questions, which sometimes happens, that's cool. You know, people get nervous. You don't want to get up there and the spotlight, have the spotlight put on them. I do that a lot, put the spotlight on people. So I don't know, maybe Aline is going to flip the switch and get rid of the podium, bring it back again. That's quite nice. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. At least I got to take a little dip there for a minute.
Yeah, I guess I have a handful of questions. It's not really questions. It's more just like
I have some questions for you.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been kind of like trying to understand the platform. I really think this is one of the most like actually professional, right way you're supposed to do VR, relative to all the other platforms. And I've been kind of like trying to traverse all the metaverse to see which one is the most like sensible for actually developing as kind of like an independent or like, you know, like you have some level of freedom that isn't like super gay kept. There are like certain, I guess, functionalities that I think could help like expand that. One I think I mentioned on Discord, which is just a unique ID that is associated with the space and a particular user, such that you can use it as kind of like a cryptographic pseudo password for just data storing, etc. It would just like simplify a lot of like, you know, just use that as a means of like querying database, etc. There's also like another thing that I think is a little bit more, I guess, impactful, at least for me. And that's like for my museum or like my world.
Yeah.
It doesn't functionally work unless people can have their mic active. And just from, you know, doing experiments in VR chat, it's fairly compatible with Chaos. And I would just, from observation, most of the people who probably would engage with the museum are completely muted, and a lot of the people who aren't muted, it's a little bit intimidating at first. So there's like a certain type of distribution of personality that probably would be more sticky on at least the configuration I have it currently. And it does, it's just kind of like feels like a, I don't know, like a missed opportunity in a way, because like I've been kind of tracking, it seems like the vast majority of people who showed up that could have retained, you know, just probably would bounce immediately because they likely don't have the attention span to go through the sign up process, honestly.
Gotcha.
But that's like, yeah. So in a way, like it would be nice for the space to kind of have the option of whether or not like that level of moderation, like a mic on speak on instance versus not. I guess I do know that there might be some like different cultural bleeds that might manifest, but like it just feels like a whole demographic, especially like a growing demographic of people that will like kind of like churn, or like not even churn, like they wouldn't even engage. So like I don't know, I mean it's just like a statement, if anything.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Now, there's a couple of points I want to make sure I address them properly. So first of all, you mentioned, if I understood correctly, having some kind of unique user ID. You mentioned in the space scope, would a unique user ID that is consistent across spaces also work for that, or are you looking for something individually?
No, something that like only the space maker and the local user has exposure to that key. So it's essentially a hash that is like the user ID plus some kind of salt. It's just that's only local to that space, so that you can kind of use it like as a password effectively. Like
Gotcha.
if another world can kind of like see their user ID, then it doesn't really make sense. If someone can inject or pretend to have like the user or like sign up or any, it needs to just be kind of like a unique identifier.
Gotcha. It's interesting. If you take a look at this little stall over here, I'm sure you've seen it, but if you put yourself in it, it'll do that little animation, and it'll actually show you some unique IDs that are available, including a session ID, which is just called ID on that screen, and a user ID, right? Which is actually internally a hash. We obscure that ourselves. That's not a user ID that can be reversed into anything that relates to your actual user, but that is consistent across multiple spaces. Now, maybe you can take that, maybe you can add additional salt to that and hash the result to produce another ID. But on your point of injection is a difficult problem to deal with, right? Especially because, at least in our experience, what we've tried to do is try to lock down access to the console, the Chrome debugger, basically. And we found that, especially on Quest, that can be quite tricky to do because it just doesn't seem to follow, usual order of things, let's say. But, that's not to say that we might not figure that out in future. But there's still potentially ways, we can possibly make certain global scoped variables read-only so that they can't be changed after they've been actually assigned in the first instance. I don't know if that's really going to mitigate injection. If somebody really knows what they're doing, of course, they can get in within that tiny window and probably put something in there. The web is kind of a pain like that, right? It is absolutely an environment that can almost always be compromised, almost always at the user level on their local environment. But yeah, there's options to sync data as well that are exposed through our SDK too. I think what could be a good strategy there is to possibly try to leverage the native side of things. And what I mean by that is the Unity visual scripting. It's just slightly more difficult to reverse engineer that and decompile it and figure out what the hell is going on than what's going on in JavaScript, right? So even if it was just a matter of doing your salting in there, you should be able to get access to the same information and be able to create that same unique reference and then potentially, right, pass that back to the web environment and share that between the two. And have that base level. If there isn't a consistent way to do that from that side as well, then we can definitely look at adding that. Or to be honest, if you feel like it makes sense for us to create some hash and append that to the user record on a space-by-space level, that's probably not that big of a deal either. I'm sure we can do that.
Yeah, I feel like that would be the most convenient approach.
Sure.
And probably responsible because it's not a super trivial thing to do and people can mess it up. So I guess just in terms of responsibility scope, it feels platform.
The argument
level.
of it all being client side as well, meaning that you can't really do any kind of cryptographic hash generation on the client side anyway, right? You'd likely have to have your own server. And I appreciate we try to avoid requiring people to do that. So yeah, I'm sure we can do something native side and append an extra property in there to the user record as some kind of space level hash, let's call it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, to your second point, which I've forgotten. Because I've been waffling on
it's more
about
like just having
hashes.
the capacity to allow guests to use their mic as a space creator.
Gotcha. Understood. Okay, so I probably need to talk about this in a little bit more depth. So basically, guests who are joining the platform haven't actually agreed or consented or ticked a box to say, the terms and conditions apply to me, all of this kind of stuff. And what we've found is that over the course of the last year and a bit that we've been building this is that the vast majority of users that we're seeing coming from the Quest platform average at probably an age of about 8 years old, right? Which is quite disconcerting, given the minimum age there is about 10. So we've actually tried a few different things over the course of that time to try and tackle that problem. At one point, we had a shadow realm, right, which kind of shifted the problem out of sight and moved it away, and people were lured off to a different environment through a gorilla tag looking portal. Hey there, Cold Yellow, how you doing? Good to see you. You can't talk, but I'm going to assume that if you could, you'd say something beautiful, and we'd all love to hear it. So thank you for that. Yeah, but in a nutshell, as the point I was getting to there, the latest solution is kind of following suit with something similar that Rec Room did, where they had a sort of a junior account allocation where communication was limited for two reasons, really, right? And they're both equally valid in my eyes. One is to do what we can to take steps to protect those who are coming in who potentially are below the age that we can allow for, especially in the case of a guest where we don't have the opportunity to age gate them on the platform, to be able to get them to, at least tell us what their age is, tell us where their country is. We can cross-reference that and determine the age of consent as to whether or not we're going to, accept them onto the platform, basically, right?
Is there a possibility to do like an Oculus account? Because that's what VR Chat does. You can sign in with Oculus, and I think it kind of just defers responsibility at that point. Although I'm not fully.
Yes, you're right. There is that possibility, right? And when you explore that, then you're probably looking at also a Steam account kind of link, right? And I guess our strategy here is to try and avoid that, that fractured user base where a lot of users are on Oculus, a lot of users are on Steam. Their accounts are probably limited in some way anyway, and the eventual goal is to get them onto the account here on the platform anyway, right? I believe VR Chat suffers quite badly from that problem, that people eventually reach that brick wall of, I want to do a certain thing, but I can't see certain things until I get a bona fide VR Chat account, right? Which is really the ultimate goal there. I mean, our approach is slightly different in that basically we've opted not to lean into the platforms and the platform services that they provide, aka the user systems, and instead to provide a guest facility, right? So the people can come on, there's less barriers, they can get in, they can enjoy, but we're not locked in because we've tried to be as open as we possibly can. The core of what Banter is built on is probably the most open XR Unity application that's available right now. We have a exact same APK that we use for Quest that we use for Pico, which is kind of strange, especially in the Unity engine, right? So that's really that's based on more of an ethos internally that we try to keep things as open as possible and try to make it so that our platform can work just as well on Google Play.
Yeah, I guess
as it does on
my
Steam,
comment is that it does feel kind of paradoxical. Because in a way it is more open, in terms of design principle it is more open, but the fact that they have to now exist in this guest account means it's technically more closed, at least in their end user experience. And my claim is that just from hopping between worlds, it does feel like the solution might be a bit aggressive because most users, I would imagine, they would show up, they can't talk, and they leave, and they don't really get the urge to sign up because they don't really know exactly what they're missing out on, and it's not like their time is just they move on.
Yes.
So it's more like just being kind of I do think it's a little bit heavy-handed, at least as an initial experience. Maybe there can be some kind of yeah.
Well, I mean, let me tell you the other side of it, right? Because I've told you about one side of it, and that side is very important, but there's another side of it here which is equally quite important, and this really hits close to home, I think, when it comes to all the other platforms, right? But as I said, the average age of the person that we're getting from the Meta platform is under the minimum age of the Meta platform. And what that often equates to is screeching kids that come in and really make the experience very poor. Since we've removed the voice audio from guests, that problem has been largely mitigated. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but we have seen a pretty, I don't know, for us anyway, somewhat of an uptick over the Christmas period, and I've yet to see a scenario where we've got screaming kids all over the Crystal Lake, and it's turning into a light show, as we've called it, right? So, I mean, what I'd love to hear is if you've got any alternative ideas. We've had loads of ideas internally as to how we deal with this problem, which is where kids and adults can kind of mix freely. And I don't know about any of the rest of the platforms, but me personally, obviously responsible for this platform, my gut says, how can we try to fix that problem or mitigate that problem in some way? You know what I mean?
The legal question is a little bit like intense. I actually do think like the best solution, if I had to do it, is just to defer, like, in terms of like verifying age, etc.
Yes.
In terms of like actual culture,
so integrate platforms.
Yeah. I think you have a question. Just for extra detail before.
When you brought up the idea, I kind of do have a question related to it. When you said to maybe a solution, would there be potentially a capability to have, when a guest first gets into Banner, a ticking time that they can use a microphone, but if they don't register an account, it shuts the microphone capabilities off?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's broaden the scope of this a little bit, right? What are the reasons that you want that microphone to be accessible? And I mean, I think I understand from yours, right? You want the mic to be accessible for programmatic purposes. You'd like to be able to use speech to text so that you can leverage that to be able to do whatever crazy generative AI cool stuff that I've been hearing about in your space. But in your case, what's the use case there that you want to be able to hear that person for a short period of time? And let's just put aside the legal conundrum of that for a minute. I'm not saying forever, because honestly, we can't.
Yeah.
Nobody can. We have a legal liability here, responsibility. And yeah, we can wait until we get a BBC piece done on us like everyone else. Go on there, you fucking lunatic. But the truth of it is, I mean, I don't know. I mean, us as a community really have to kind of come together and decide what we want to do about this. So I put it to you, Goriron. Did I pronounce that right? What's the use case for having them be able to speak for a limited period of time and then have to then limit it afterwards?
Well, personally for me, it was just a idea to coincide with the whole thought process of getting guests to be able to just speak straight off the bat. But personally for me, I like it with the way it is with mics being muted, because it, from my aspect and my perspective of it, it weeds out those kids that are too lazy and don't have the attention span to read the instructions at the very beginning at Banter 101 and follow how to register an account.
I guess my claim is that, like, right? I'm totally fine with dealing with lazy, and impatient people. I feel like I know how to create a world where it can kind of cater to that type of personality. Obviously, like, if it's like featured, there's going to be issues, because like there's like an initial impression and what exactly is the vibe of like Banter. But I guess in terms of like, I like this as a platform because it's such a great framework. I do recognize that there are like possible, I guess, culture bleed or etc. for implementing such a system. But like, hopefully, like there's a way that like you could kind of do like a states' rights where you defer certain responsibilities or like cultural, I guess, curation, even like legal responsibilities too, because if needed, to the world creator.
Yes. No, I definitely agree. And I mean, in a lot of different ways, I like to really think of Banter as just a browser, right? And honestly, I would love for us to be able to operate in that space and just say, we're a portal to the metaverse. Fucking hate that word, but you know what I mean? We're the portal. We're not the metaverse. Other people are out there creating various parts of it. And, you use us like you use a browser. Browser isn't, in that case, liable to introduce that sort of disclaimer, right, for the rest of the internet. They're not liable in that scenario. But I think the difference with us is that when it comes to this centralized voice and networking facility that we have, that's kind of transferring, I guess what you could consider to be, in some senses, biometric data, right, about people. Then it gets a bit murky. Now, the problem here is, of course, there is no precedent here. All of the shit we're doing is so cutting edge that there's nothing close that comes to it when it comes to any kind of framework that can kind of handle this. So we're kind of the custodians of our own future, and it's up to us, all of us, not just me, not just my team, but the wider community to decide what's better here. And I mean, to your point, I can think of potentially one technical solution that we could put forward that might solve the problem for you, and that's that we could allow them to have access to the speech to text without being able to unmute, for instance, right? There's maybe a solution that could give access to facility without exposing as much liability, right? And maybe if Faye is at her keyboard there, she could take a note of that, and that's something that we could
that's
change.
an interesting way too.
I know because I was heavily involved in the audio stack that we've built here, so I understand that it is just a matter of us kind of flipping around a few things to be able to get access to that audio data at the speech-to-text level, before mute takes effect, basically, right? So that is absolutely a possibility. And honestly, there's probably still a little bit of liability there. As far as it stands with us, we have a number of servers now running on a facility called RunPod, which does a lot of our AI shit for us, and we're running Whisper, or a fast variant of Whisper, on RunPod, which does the speech to text, right? So data is recorded, transferred, deleted, gone. There's no storage, there's no backup or anything of that. But even that being said, as a platform, should we become aware that somebody under the legal age of being able to use our platform without parental consent, we're obligated to ensure that we delete all of their data or don't process any of their data, right? And that's kind of our responsibility as a data controller in many different countries, California, the whole of Europe. All of these things kind of apply. But I don't know, don't quote me on this. This is being live streamed, but it doesn't matter. I'm drunk anyway, so who cares? I'm waiting for Kate to laugh in the background. She's drunk too, by the way. I'm just going to point that out.
If I could
but no, my point really is still just as valid. I think if we can come up with a solution that gives us some kind of a position here where we're doing something we can to protect ourselves, protect our younger users, and protect the interests of the wider community, not alienate our existing users by flooding in screaming kids, right? Yeah. So as long as we can fit that bill, I'm open to any ideas you've got, and if you want to start a conversation on Discord, ping me.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. There's like you said, it's a very dense topic. I'm just kind of voicing.
Yeah.
And also, I would like to get the reactions of whether or not this is a terrible idea on my end or a terrible suggestion. Just collectively. So,
age verification, of course, is something that's a pretty hot topic right now, especially on VR chat, right? And that's actually something that we had planned on implementing anyway, right? In that. But that doesn't really help solve your problem, right? In that if people still need to be verified in order to join your space, if it's deemed adult only because whatever the topic. And honestly, when it comes to AI generation, I don't know about you, but we've experimented with a number of models, and no matter what we can do, they can still generate boobs.
Yeah,
so
that is true.
We have a need, and I'd love to share this, by the way, if anybody's interested. But we have a neat little setup where basically everything we generate gets stored on Discord, believe it or not. We just pipe it in through a webhook and then get a Discord link back for the attached file. And that's what we link in our AI gallery space. And that's also what we link in the AI gallery channel on Discord, right? Obviously, that's where it's hosted. Most recently, we've been pissing around with Trellis. Some of you may have noticed some models appearing in there as well, and we're actually doing the same thing. Fuck it, just throw those models up onto Discord, CDN. Why should we pay for that bandwidth? Am I right? But if anybody's interested, I'd love to share that. You can slap it on up in there all over Discord and use that. All right there, Kate. You got something to add? Go ahead. Tell us a little story there.
Slap it all up in there. Slap it in there.
That's right. Now,
yeah.
Come on now, Kate. That's got connotations. Take her easy now.
Shut up now.
Sheesh.
Oh boy. There we go. No. Kate has hacked into my account, by the way. This is something that we still got to deal with.
Absolutely.
Oh boy. Oh no. Yeah, I don't know. Let's keep this conversation going. This is always an ongoing conversation. So, I'm happy to put my 2 cents to it, and if there's anything we can do, then yeah, I'd love some ideas. If anybody has ideas, I'm always open to those, and we can experiment, right? We can try different things.
So one other idea with the
microphone, Kate, go ahead.
Another idea I had for the solution of maybe with the guest issue is if they were to have open mic, all people that develop their own rooms have a menu option where you can turn on and off the guests, and then that way guests can still talk. But if you have the option to deny guests entirely because your room is 18 plus, that could also help.
Great idea. And I'd love to tell everybody that we already have that feature, right? There is a enable guests allowed option that you can set on the space settings. That's something we've had for quite a while, right? So if you want to exclude guests entirely from your space, that's absolutely something that you can do. That's obviously going down the more restrictive route, right? Which is obviously an interesting approach to this problem. But yeah, it's up to you. If you do that, they will be warned when they attempt to join the space. It'll say, you need to sign in order to join this space.
Also, is there an attribute that identifies if a user is a guest or not? Because I couldn't really find one.
Not currently, although there is a possibility that... yeah, not currently. But that's something we could also look at adding a flag for. Yeah, I'm sure that's not a big deal.
Yeah. I've been going off usernames, but it's not accurate. Like, there are cases where...
Yes. Yeah, that would be a difficult one to try and determine which is which. And honestly, myself and Kate actually have been talking about going through the guest names and seeing what extra cool names we could throw in there to try and spice it up a little bit. I mean, I know those names get a little bit spicy, and honestly, maybe there's a word or two we need to remove. I'll put my hand up and say I'm sorry about that. But also, we can throw some funny ones in there, right? Kate, what were we talking about? Hit me with some of the names. What did we say?
Fecker. We're going to put
Fecker, that's one.
Fecker.
Can you imagine? Fecker Sapphire. That's totally good. Bollocks. That's another one. That's not a swear word in most countries in the world, I think. So we could throw bollocks in there.
Bollocks.
Right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe Shoseki. You look like you have some ideas there the way you were in the ground. You want to? Is there any words you can think of we should add to the guest list? Oh, that sounds exciting.
Hey,
let's discuss that later. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
Go up the podium, Pox.
Sounds good. Pox, you've got a question.
Where's
Hit
the podium?
It's right here.
Oh yeah, like completely unrelated to anything, but can I have the texture of this ground without the banter, like the original? Who has it? I want this for my room.
No.
Like the floor texture, the carpet.
No, you can't. Sorry, I'm just going to unmegaphone you now. That question is now over. Thank you. Bye-bye. No, I'm sure Lean can give you that.
I would really like to give it to you, but the problem is I used all of it. Sorry.
I mean, look at the size of this place. That's a lot of carpet. That is a lot of the word banter. These were actually individual tiles, would you believe? We actually had to get people to lay all of these out one by one. You can see it. You can see it in the pattern. It's just, yeah. There we go. Cece, hit me. What have you got for me?
My mom
you've got some
watches
guest
the
name
Home and
suggestions.
Garden channel and would love that that you guys are talking about tile. Anyways, I wanted to ask about something that I had been hoping from Altspace, but I'm not sure if it is something that's kind of a long-term roadmap item or if I can expect it in the near future.
Okay.
So I'm hoping for some sort of creator discovery that could turn to a point of sale. That could be two different things or one thing. In Altspace, it was one thing. Kind of looking at Banter, it may be two things. I'm wondering if you kind of speak on kind of creator discovery and if some of the games or kind of the things that you're hoping can be created in here can be sold.
Interesting. Yes. I mean, okay, so first of all, creator discovery, just to make sure I'm on the right lines here, you're talking about being able to find people who build worlds. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that for
just
the
being
purposes
able to
of
see
finding their worlds, or do you want to find people to collaborate with?
I'd love both, but I'm meaning the first one.
Okay. Cool beans. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not, right? Maybe it could be a new section under the people section in the menu, right? Where you could have creators, literally that, on the right-hand side, and then see maybe a top list or some way to sort people based on whatever, popularity of their worlds, number of worlds, recent hot popularity, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's definitely something that we could talk about, and I'm eager to add in there. We're definitely pretty excited about ways to open up discovery. So any way to do that is something that, we'll want to have a conversation about. And beyond that, there's maybe some other ways that we can do it, either through the SideQuest website itself, potentially something on your individual profile page that might show, a list of your worlds, or possibly something also on the Banter website, right? Realizing those are two different websites, but there's a potential there to kind of open that up for sure. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, I mentioned the support desk. If anybody heard me say that before, sdq.st/banter-help is the address, or I think you can just go to help.bant.ing. That's another option. And there is a whole section in there. It's actually it's a culmination of what we used to have on Discord. But it includes ideas, feature requests, support requests, everything, technical support, all that kind of stuff. Even if you've come across some secret shit that we've been putting out recently, you can also go in and talk about that in there. I won't say any more about that. We won't talk about that. None of that got said. It's definitely going to be scrubbed from the live stream later, right, Shoseki? Nice one. To your second point, payment facilities. So right now, internally in Banter, I guess payment processing is eventually going to become a goal of ours, right? I'll be honest, at some point we'll probably do something similar to VR Chat where you've got an optional plus subscription that you can take that might give you some additional cosmetic benefits, right? Obviously, for us to establish that, a payment infrastructure will need to be in place. Beyond that, really, which is I think what you're discussing, which is much what like VR Chat has been doing for a little while now, is creator monetization, right? Where you can decide to monetize your worlds based on whatever. I don't know. I haven't actually seen it myself. I assume it's subscription based, but who knows?
That's
it could be
one
one-off.
option.
Is it one-off as well? Maybe it's both. But yeah, I mean, I guess if I'm honest, I think what we've been sort of relying on or depending upon internally for this kind of thing is that Banter is built on top of a web stack, which means you've kind of got the entire internet's worth of payment facilities at your disposal, right? And to kind of walk through that process, to kind of give you a real world use case, from within Banter, you can trigger to open up a page within the user's browser, right? Within their menu. That page, once open, you can communicate with it directly, right? Using post, the web message API, using post messages between the host space and the menu browser. You can directly send messages back and forth. There's there's some more info on our documentation on that. You can also obviously create browsers and embed them in your worlds, place them around as kind of like world space browsers, let's say. Those can also be communicated with directly between the host space, right? Those browsers cannot talk directly to the menu browser, but through the host space, they've got a relay. So you do have the ability to communicate between all of these. And I guess the point I'm making there is that you could use that to establish communication with a custom page that you've built that also includes a PayPal Pay button, right? That involves, typical payment workflow, redirecting the user to whatever it is. They do their, enter their details, that kind of thing, redirects them back, at which point you receive something through the query string params of the browser to tell you that payment was successful, whatever.
Right.
Maybe they make a post request.
Right.
I mean, when it gets to payment, back-end services are also typically a good idea, especially when it comes to payment. But you may have a way then to communicate that information back into the space, store a cookie in the user's browser, use whatever means you've got at your disposal to be able to, remember that person, know that they've done that thing, and record that as
and
such.
integrate it into the space. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now, there's other services
so
out there,
using
of
the
course.
browser.
You've got
using webhooks.
You've got Patron, for instance, which likely has webhook support, which can do that kind of stuff as well. So there's other services out there that will allow you to kind of tap into, other payment workflows, other communities centered around that kind of crowdfunding and crowdsourcing of what you're doing. So there's definitely there's options, right? With that web stack and having that whole facility there's an entire there's an entire legion of giants that you can stand on the shoulders of to be able to figure out how to monetize things as they exist, right? Now, all that being said,
that's what I was brainstorming with.
I completely agree that a native solution for us to do that is ultimately going to be better and going to be safer and going to be, a number of different, going to be smoother as a user experience for the user themselves. But I have to be honest, for us, at least internally, it is going to be about trying to grow the user base and before it's going to be focusing our energy and resources on building out payment facilities and monetization and all of that kind of stuff, right? Because I think it's much more important to focus on growing the user base. And for the last 12 months, a huge amount of our effort has really been put into both our SDKs and as well as our avatar systems. And as we move into this new year, a big focus is going to be for us internally is building out content. Actually building out our own original content, releasing that content, making it available for other people to take and remix and do with whatever they want. Much of what you're seeing here today in this space is kind of our starting point there with a kind of a getting started sort of thing that starts to demonstrate some simple controls and buttons and interactions and grabbing, taking advantage of the physics that we've got and being able to use that and work that into your spaces. But is he attached to me?
Yeah, that all sounds super exciting. I have a lot of ideas that I want to be able to create content with in here and be able to share on social. And I guess as a final thing, I've been looking into multiple, third-party services that I can integrate with the SDK. And I saw on the SideQuest website that there were webhooks. Can you give a little description of what those were intended for?
Sure. The webhooks that you've probably seen on SideQuest are intended for developers publishing games on SideQuest to be able to basically integrate updates to their games into their build pipelines. So those webhooks are designed. They're actually receiving webhooks, and they're designed for people to be able to kind of almost push a new update to their applications without necessarily having to go to the website, right? In some kind of automated way as part of some continuous deployment or continuous integration pipeline, something along those lines. But I mean, like most things, we actually have somewhat of a public API spoiler alert, it involves accessing our user system and being able to access our apps API, being able to consume all of that data. We have a whole Swagger docs, right? If you go to api.sidequestvr.com/docs, you'll see a whole Swagger interface. If you know what you're doing, you can take your own refresh token out of your session and inject it in there to be able to test various API endpoints that we've made publicly available. Why those are available is as part of a kind of a larger platform services that we here at SideQuest are kind of working towards making generally available to other developers, right? And spoiler alert, many of those same APIs are integrated here in Banter. In fact, there's a larger number of those APIs that aren't in that documentation section that we've been testing out in Banter, which includes everything from space APIs, event APIs, more user APIs, friend APIs, all of that kind of stuff. A side goal of all of what we're doing here is actually dogfooding a lot of our own back-end platform services with a view to making those available to a number of other developers, right? And the benefit to us here is that should that happen, should people kind of adopt those sorts of facilities, there's a likelihood that what we're doing here on Banter will also be able to spread out to other platforms as well. And we've been taking steps to make that possible, largely making our SDK and a huge core component of the Banter app and how all of our worlds are loaded and the whole browser integration piece fully open source, right? With a view to, in the future, kind of having a plethora of products and services that people may be able to take advantage of, right? Many of which will probably be free, including our open source SDK. But I'm waffling. I'm way beyond waffling. But I guess
it sounds
the
great.
general point.
You answered my question.
Monetization, just as a final point, monetization will definitely be something that we want to cater for. I think there's just a couple of larger priorities as we kind of see them internally right now, which is just about trying to make it so that people have something to do here, right? That's an important thing as far as I see it. And everything you see around us here is kind of working towards that goal. And yeah, we want to be able to let people take advantage of all sorts of different things to be able to help enhance their spaces. And yeah, I mean, to give you an example of that, I'm continuing to waffle, I realize that, but an example of that is
I love it. Please continue.
The AI. Yeah. The AI model generation, 3D model generation we've been experimenting with recently. We were maybe working on trying to put together a sample for the SDK that you could import into your world that would effectively add world building capability to it, right? It was going to be a voice prompt that would let you generate an image, maybe regenerate those images a few times. Once you're happy with it, you can then create a model from said image. Then you can just grab that model, move it around and place it within your world. Maybe use your controls to adjust the transform properties of that object as you move it around. Come up with a basic system of saving that. And honestly, the plan is to then release that maybe as part of the SDK and see what people do with it before we get into any major enhancements beyond that. There's obviously a lot of different things that we could do. But the plan is to have simple SDK facilities that you can access from visual scripting or from JavaScript, where you can simply generate an AI image. And we'll be using Flux behind the scenes to present that image back to you. We'll also have the 3D model system, which can take that image back in and produce a 3D model. In the future, the hope is you'll also just be able to go straight from text to 3D model as well, right? Skipping the image in between.
Ooh.
But honestly, the image is quite useful because, it kind of helps you refine your idea before you kind of commit. And sometimes it can get it wrong and it can be faster to iterate on the image a few times before you get into the 3D model generation, right? But imagine you have a world, you're creating it, maybe you've just pulled in this sample and you're using this as a starting point. Then you notice there's another sample which is able to pull in, whatever, AI powered world building, right? That's how we're thinking of it internally. And then, you could just have something like what we've got in the AI gallery, where you've got like a photo frame that houses whatever image you've generated. And then from there, you can go from there and build out a whole entire world and save it, right? And then other people can come and visit that. I mean, I don't know. It's a starting point. It's one of our more common requests is to have in-game world building, and something like this, could be pretty cool to go straight from voice to 3D models and to build an entire world by just speaking it into existence. That could honestly
creating your reality.
Exactly. So,
yeah. So it all
anyway,
sounds
I've
like
waffled
gifts
for a while.
to. I loved all of it. Sounds like Christmas. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I would say, stay tuned. Keep an eye on the AI Gallery channel in Discord, because you'll probably see a bunch of stuff appear in there as we're testing things out. But I'm excited, right, to see what people will do. There's certainly an enormous amount of tooling that we could build out internally to let people create in-game, right? But this honestly offers a really interesting shortcut to that whole process that might provide people this quick, convenient, infinite, unique marketplace of assets that they might be able to pull in. And from what I've seen with the stuff that Trellis is producing, they're game ready. They're optimized. They're already pre-decimated. And they generally look pretty good. Hey, 14 new play. What have you got for me?
How do I change my avatar to the box thing again? The cardboard box. It's not there no more.
That's a great question. That's a great question. Maybe we need to put the box into a world somewhere where people can actually select it. Oh, there you go. You can change it to that, but I don't believe it will work because you're now signed up, which means your guest avatar is now disabled, right? The box is a guest avatar.
She'll
unless Aline is going to prove me wrong, she's going to appear back in this space just in a moment as a box. Well, let's see what happens. In the meantime, Vanquisher, hit me up. What have you got?
Yeah, just quick question. Are we still having the Game On Pitches event tomorrow?
That's a great question. Yes, we are still having the Game On event tomorrow.
Awesome.
Right now, we are still working on some samples internally. The plan is probably to finalize some of those in the early morning of tomorrow, European time, let's say. And hopefully those might be available by the time the event goes live. But yeah, we're going to be crunching to probably finalize those tomorrow. Maybe Aline wants to talk about that a little bit.
Sorry,
I'll put her on megaphone.
Sorry, I was not here. I was checking if you can actually switch back to the robot, but no, you can't.
Which you can't.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will add an option.
We can just throw it in there. Yeah, maybe it can go into the Avatar Oasis or something like that. I'm sure that would work just fine. But yeah, what I was talking about was the Game On event, and that maybe tomorrow we'll try and finalize some of these samples we've been working on. I think one-shots is one thing that we're trying to establish, and maybe some of this AI functionality that I've mentioned, and get that hopefully out, at least released in the form of a sample by tomorrow. And then, yes, we'll go ahead with the first pitch of the Game On event, of the Game On series, let's say, tomorrow. So, yeah. Cool. Sound good?
Yep. Awesome. Wait, I have one more, I guess, question, or not really question, but like, to represent the lazy and impatient once more, I do think like it should be like whenever you log on a browser or go to SideQuest on a browser, you're not logged in. I figure it should be more seamlessly integrated, just because it's an extra friction step. I just know like people will, and there's not really clear like differentiation between like the VR world. And there's like this awkward like VR and browser implementation that is a little bit, I like it, but it's unintuitive. And just the friction kind of like makes, at least I would feel like a little bit of confusion. Like, wait, am I not already on SideQuest? When they say join a space, does it mean join a space? I'm already in the space. So how can I possibly join it? But join means become a man. Like there's just a lot of like, I guess, slight optimizations in terms of verbiage and flow that can just growth hack a bit. So,
yes,
yeah.
That sounds awesome. I mean, I'd love to hear some of these ideas. If there's any way that you could jot these down or collate these together, I'd love to really take these internally and see if there's any quick wins we can make on the face of it, and longer term plans to try and address some of this. Because I do agree with you. It's been less than ideal, let's say, for us to try to establish Banter as a recognizable brand in terms of what it is, whilst also having this umbrella of SideQuest, really, right? Because Banter is the name of a product. It's not the name of a company or anything in that sense. SideQuest is the company that operates Banter, right? And that creates confusion, especially with people. We have a few ideas internally, some subtle things, especially around the whole login flow. Mainly trying to make it clear, right, that it's you take your SideQuest account and link it in order to kind of enable this in Banter. To your point about the browser and being able to instantly enable those sessions, that's possible. Right now, without getting into the specifics, but Banter uses a scoped API access. It doesn't have the same full access to your account that you would have if you log on to the SideQuest website, for instance, right? There's a lot of things, especially around account management, changing any details relative to your account, changing passwords, anything about your security, all of that stuff is actually limited away in that sense. And that might make it tricky for us to provide a facility to upgrade from that limited scoped access to a fully fledged one where now you're actually signed into the website. And that honestly plays into much what I was saying before about us building out platform services. Obviously, we wouldn't want to grant API access to any app to be able to change your password or change security configuration on your account. Now, there's obviously a lot of things we can do to improve on that. Maybe there is ways for us to expose some of that. Maybe that should never be exposed. We are working internally on a range of scopes or claims, if you will, right? Roles, call them whatever you want. We've already broadened our internal scope of these roles, covering various departments in terms of what we're doing. But the plan is to actually have a scope of community roles that goes beyond just owner and moderator of a space, but that there may be other roles within that as well. And yeah, maybe within that, there's a possibility for us to open a safe space of how can we allow this sort of access to things without risking what we're doing there. And yeah, I don't know. There's always challenges with all of these kinds of things, right? But I'm open to explaining for sure where we've come in terms of our train of thought, and the technical state that we're in, and if there's ideas that we can find there and a path forward to get to a common goal, it sounds great to me. Oh, somebody's going nuts on that button, I think, in a different instance. Nice. That's kind of creepy. That is kind of creepy. Either that or I blocked them. I would say it's probably a different instance, though, right? Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Pandas Shane. Let's bring you down here. See if that's you.
Okay, cool. So I have here we go. I got 2 questions. One question is, I keep lagging issues in here, so I keep having connection issues. I know someone else has. Gotcha. Do you have a way to fix that?
Yes.
So like all the other ones, so VR chat and the other ones work fine, but for some reason this one, I'll keep lagging in and out.
Gotcha. I don't know. It's likely maybe
and I know
VR
someone
chat
else has
the
done
others
it.
might have
Has
a
had
more
the same
seamless. Yeah, they might have a more seamless system that can kind of reconnect. Maybe ours is a bit more aggressive. I know that sometimes the avatars will disappear and then reappear.
I
we might
do
be
that
able
quite
to
a bit.
mitigate that. Yeah, honestly, that is down to the quality of your internet connection. I would recommend that you explore, what's going on with your router, see if maybe you can just reboot it from time to time. Like I say, it's very likely those problems are being better absorbed on VR chat, but are still occurring. And in future, we may also better absorb those and have less avatar animations when things are being created or destroyed. But the truth is, the root cause of that problem is the stability of your connection, right? A number
I'll
of
have to
people
look into
obviously
it then.
don't have that problem. Me, myself,
Yeah, that's
I'll
what I've
occasionally
noticed.
disconnect. But, if it is limited to you, then the
Well, I know a
first
couple
port
other
of call
people.
there is...
I've heard 2 people that I've met
Sure.
to vote for.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, as I say, I mean, oh boy, just happened, right?
As I was talking.
Yeah, as you were talking.
Yeah.
See, this is the problem. It is limited to you, or potentially limited to other people for the same reason, for possibly different reasons. The internet is obviously an entirely fluid space, and there's many, many problems, many different things that can cause an unstable connection. With us, we'll immediately restore that connection. You'll immediately rejoin the space as you've been seeing.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're disconnecting in the first place is indicative of the fact that your own connection is unstable.
I'll have to look into that then.
Sure.
The other question.
If you...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if there's any further, help or investigation we can do on our end, there is always some stuff we can look into. But it is what I've witnessed right now is a drop in your connection and you reconnecting. Cool. All of the rest of us were still here, but imagine for you, we all refreshed in that instance, and it's just happened again. Yeah. What internet are you using out of interest? What ISP?
Rogers.
Gotcha.
That's our
heard of that one.
provider.
I thought.
No,
I
it's
thought maybe,
Canadian.
Is it a satellite or? Right.
No, it's a Vibe. I think it's Vibe.
Gotcha.
Like it's
Vibe
good
is
internet, but I've never had connection issues with
line of
anything
sight.
else other than Banter. So that's what I was wondering.
Sure.
If there's
Well, like I say, in a lot of cases, it can be absorbed by the service that you're using, right? In a lot of cases, it'll just restore the connection. And that is what's happening here. Right now, your connection is being restored. And for the most part, our communication is somewhat uninterrupted here. But it could be more uninterrupted, and I take that on board. We can certainly try and reduce that. But I stress, and I stress this again to everybody concerned. Obviously, internet can sometimes have problems. Right? It can sometimes have problems. And in your case, the fact that this is happening repeatedly to you, but not to everybody else in the room, is really a great... I'll just wait till you reconnect. It's really a great process of elimination that immediately points to a problem isolated to you, to your ISP, potentially.
I'll have to look it
And
up.
if you can find
I'll
somebody
look it up.
else on a similar ISP who can also verify that, right? I'm not too sure if that's possible. But if that's the case, we can always look into that as best we can. There's obviously so many different elements involved in the equation. Hey, Snowstorm, what have you got for me?
I was just saying, I haven't had it as often, but I have had issues where I just like randomly disconnect for half a second and come back. And I'm like on a very good Ethernet connection, so I don't know why that would be happening.
Sure. Yes. Well, Ethernet is a local connection system, right? Sure. Yeah. Gigabit Ethernet. Absolutely. Very common, actually, in this day and age. Most computers now have gigabit Ethernet. That's fairly standard. But once again, that is a local connection,
No,
right?
I said
your
gigabit
Ethernet
to
connection.
my ISP.
Sure. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I understand perfectly what you're saying. But I'm just going to reiterate to you that this connection problem being isolated to you heavily suggests that the problem is with your connection, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be your ISP. It doesn't have to be outside of the house. It could be wireless interference within your house, right? Number of devices in this day and age are spewing out RF signals all over your house. And believe it or not, it doesn't matter whether it's Bluetooth, whether it's Wi-Fi, whether it's some other custom protocol, it's all RF signals. It's all within a certain consumer band range, and they can all interfere with each other. So a number of Bluetooth devices in your home can absolutely cause interruptions in your wireless signal. That is an absolute valid thing. It becomes really difficult when it comes to trying to troubleshoot problems like that, and that's why we don't. Because honestly, there are so many different configurations, so many different setups, so many different hardware options out there that it becomes really tricky to be able to try and take the necessary time to figure out what is the individual problem. But what you can do is there's a number of apps available on the app stores that will allow you to do a Wi-Fi, check of your space. You can do a what's the word I'm looking for? You can do an assessment, right? You can do a analyzer. Yeah, there you go. There's a recommendation from Vansky in the back. You can certainly get a Wi-Fi analyzer and look for maybe some gaps in signal within your space, right? And then obviously that affects every connection, regardless of your speed to your ISP, or, in the case of using Ethernet, maybe not. But if that's the case, something else is at fault, right? It is a process of elimination in these cases. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because honestly, we can sit here and talk about wireless issues all bloody night long. And I'm already 20 minutes over the time that I have to jump out here. So I'm going to I'm gonna hit the road myself. Thank you all so much for coming. It's been great. I will be back tomorrow for AMA around the same time. If anybody's here, I'd love to see you. In the meantime, if anybody wants to follow up on anything we've discussed today, please jump into the Discord and ping me. We'll be happy to talk about it. And please stay tuned for the Game On event tomorrow. And for the SDK samples, which we'll be releasing as part of that. The hope there is that there's some really great material that can get you started with, or give you some ideas for things that you can jump in with. In the meantime, we have an event starting in 15 minutes, Neurodiversity Chat. If anybody's interested in that, we've got a whole lineup of events later on tonight as well. Have we got the Late Show, as well as the after party? That's always a lot of fun. You've got 18 plus game night with Discord Kitty and Banter Brush kickoff tonight, right? Is that your space, Technorad? Is that your one?
Yeah, it's every day because it's a 24-hour service for the most part. I just have it so that at 5 o'clock, it is better sometimes. I mean, it depends on your dialogue style with more people. So like just to have like a time interval where you can be more certain that people are also participating in it, so that every day 5 o'clock, but whenever you feel like, it could be 2 a.m. for all it matters.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's brilliant. Well, honestly, guys, I haven't had a chance to check it out myself. I will definitely be doing that. I'd say tomorrow. But for anybody else, I definitely recommend it. I've heard great things. I've heard that it puts our own AR gallery to shame. So please jump in and experience that if you're interested. And thank you so much for creating stuff.
Yeah, thanks for making this platform. I really do think this is like the best platform for this type of technology to just prosper. So I am looking forward to even like all of the experiments that you guys are doing too. So I definitely think there's like a very, very interesting future ahead. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Go on,
That's
Shane,
brilliant.
you mad bastard.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate the support. It goes a long way.
Go on.
And, I am a mad bastard. You're not wrong. I'll take that title to the bank and cash that in. Okay, folks. Thank you very much. It's been great. Honestly, really great. I will see you all very soon. Talk to you later.
Thank you.